80% of the league are free agents. Like, everyone timed their contracts. Everybody signed one-year deals, and everyone timed their contracts to coincide with this new CBA. So literally, there's not even really any teams. There's only like 20% of the league.
Stop scrolling. What I'm about to tell you sounds unbelievable, but it was just confirmed on national television. Ladies and gentlemen, pause whatever you're doing and listen to the absolute chaos that has just been exposed. We've been covering this WNBA collective bargaining disaster for weeks. We've discussed the greed, the jealousy, the internal fighting, but ESPN's Ramona Shelburne went on the Rich Eisen show and dropped a bombshell that reveals how deep the dysfunction really goes. This isn't merely a labor dispute anymore. It's starting to look like a hostage situation. 80% of the Women's National Basketball Association is currently unemployed. Let me repeat that because it sounds unreal. 80% of the league's professional players do not have a team right now. This was coordinated. Contracts were deliberately aligned to expire at the same time, pressuring the owners and creating a scenario where the league literally doesn't have enough signed players to stage games. It's a manufactured emergency, and it's pushing the sport toward the edge. If you thought the WNBPA's Valentine's Day poem posts were awkward, wait until you understand the logistical nightmare they've engineered. Shelburne detailed it clearly. The union advised players to sign one-year deals last season. They encouraged them to bet on themselves. The message was simple. When the Caitlin Clark revenue surge arrives, everyone cashes in together. But here's the risk in a high-stakes game of financial chicken. Eventually, someone has to swerve. And right now, no one is .2 expansion franchises in Toronto and Portland are preparing to enter the league. How many players are currently on their rosters?
0.
They're supposed to be celebrating growth with an expansion draft, yet they can't proceed because there's no finalized collective bargaining agreement. You can't draft players into a financial framework that doesn't exist. You can't sign free agents when the salary cap is a mystery. The league's entire infrastructure has been frozen solid by a union holding out for a blockbuster payday, and then came the most uncomfortable revelation. Shelburne disclosed that the league recently released its regular season schedule. You may have seen it and assumed, great, the season's secure. For example, the Indiana Fever are slated to face the New York Liberty on April 25th. But don't mistake that schedule for progress. According to Shelburne, it wasn't confidence, it was a blink, a signal of urgency. And the reason they felt compelled to blink? That's the part that's truly unsettling.
We're getting close here, Rich. I mean, I thought it was interesting the league put out a schedule, because one of the pressure points I had been hearing was literally arena dates. You know how this goes. Like, if you don't have your dates on the schedule, they give them away to some concert. They give them away to some circus that comes to town, or they give them away to anybody else who wants to use the arena. Arenas cannot have open dates. And if you want those open dates, you gotta lock those in. So the league went forward with the idea of let's do the schedule, even though we don't even know who's on what team. And I thought that was a blink.
Wait, did you catch that? The Women's National Basketball Association reportedly released a schedule for teams that don't even have finalized rosters, simply to keep their arena dates from being taken by the circus. That sounds unreal, but that's the claim being made. The premier women's basketball league in the world, the home of Caitlin Clark, Aya Wilson, and Sabrina Ionescu, is allegedly competing with traveling shows and monster truck events for arena availability. And critics argue that as negotiations drag on, ownership felt pressure to publish a schedule quickly just to secure bookings and maintain operational stability. Some union leaders, including Breanna Stewart and Nneka Agwamike, have publicly pushed for a larger share of league revenue. Supporters say that's about long-term equity and growth. Skeptics question whether the league's current finances can support those demands. That tension has fueled the broader debate. The comparison often raised is the National Basketball Association. Players want top-tier treatment, charter flights, higher max contracts, expanded benefits. But the NBA operates with decades of profitability, massive media deals, and global scale. As critics frame it, ambition may be colliding with financial reality. And then comes the central question. On the Rich Eisen show, veteran broadcaster Rich Eisen cut through the noise. After covering countless labor disputes across modern sports, he focused on what many believe is the core issue. What is truly driving the sudden surge of attention around this league? And what happens if that momentum stalls?
I don't mean to be flippant, but again, there's a golden goose that's getting more valuable here. And, and stars, I mean, Juju Watkins is going to be healthy. Like, this is rubber meeting the road here.
Stop. This is where everything gets reeled out on the Rich Eisen show. Rich Eisen summed it up in one phrase. The golden goose is Caitlin Clark. His argument? The Union may be playing a dangerous game with the most valuable momentum the league has ever seen. Clark brought millions of new viewers to the Women's National Basketball Association. She drove sellout crowds. She boosted ratings. She helped energize media rights conversations. But here's the tension critics keep pointing to. Many of those new fans are loyal to the player, not necessarily the league brand. If a lockout were to happen, and May arrives without Clark on national television, casual viewers could drift elsewhere, perhaps to the National Basketball Association playoffs or other sports entirely. And once casual fans disengage, history shows it's difficult to win them back quickly. Union leadership, including prominent veterans like Breanna Stewart and Nneka Agwamike, has pushed for stronger revenue-sharing terms. Supporters argue they're fighting for long-term sustainability and fairness. Critics argue the timing risks destabilizing fragile growth. That's the divide. The calendar adds pressure. March looms as a critical inflection point. Salary cap structures must be finalized. Expansion logistics for new markets must be addressed. Free agency involves a large portion of the league. The collegiate draft, training camps, and roster construction all follow. Compressing months of operational work into weeks would create turbulence, even if a deal were signed immediately. There's also the internal dynamic. Star players with endorsement portfolios and overseas income may be better positioned to absorb delays than minimum salary players fighting for roster spots. That disparity fuels another layer of debate about who bears the financial strain during a standoff. Above it all sits NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, whose league provides structural backing. Media partners such as the Walt Disney Company, Amazon, and NBC Universal also have vested interests in stability. Long-term broadcast agreements depend on certainty. Prolonged disruption introduces contractual and financial complications no stakeholder wants. At its core, this moment is about leverage versus momentum. The league has undeniable cultural heat. The players seek a larger share of that growth. Ownership seeks financial guardrails. Fans simply want the season to tip off on time. If negotiations falter, the consequences won't fall on one name alone. Not on Clark. Not on veterans. Not on ownership. The entire ecosystem would feel it, players, executives, networks, and fans alike. Right now, the arenas are reserved. The schedule is posted. The spotlight is bright. And the clock is ticking.